Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Eggers has done it again. One of 2024's most anticipated horror films and movies in general has arrived with Nosferatu. I saw it on Christmas Day and I was blown away. A film that breathes life into the things that I love so much about filmmaking and what it means to experience something great in the cinema. In this video, I am going to analyze Nosferatu for why it did something so great in adapting the story of the famous vampire Count Orlok. To anyone watching, where do you stand on this movie in terms of how it adapted Nosferatu? And also, what is your favorite Robert Eggers film, including Nosferatu? Let me know down below in the comments. The best thing that I think we should start with is talking about Robert Eggers as a filmmaker. This dude has found a way, yet again, to craft a film that is so uniquely to its own, while pushing back against the boundaries of what it means to craft effective horror. Boundaries that I think are in systems in which the horror genre has failed to recognize or not know how to make a good horror film in the last however many years. Jump scares and lazy stories to make contrived horror narratives is effectively what I mean by that. That kind of stuff is not how you make good horror movies, and we see that too many movies are doing that recently. Nosferatu, in a way, is the exact opposite of that. It's an adaptation of the famous vampire Dracula in a way that leans more heavily into the German tale of it all by using the Nosferatu name. It's a story that has been told many times at this point in many different adaptations, and for the first time in a long time, this particular version is getting another adaptation from what feels like the right director. Eggers does not take this material and use it to make a generic horror film that you've seen a million times before. While yes, it does have a few jump scare-like moments, all of that is done to help craft the story and the characters. Eggers crafts scenes to make you feel a certain way to where almost every scene in its own way has purpose to being in the film and not left out on the cutting room floor. But through that comes arguably the best aspect of the film, which is how Eggers uses all the technical ways of filmmaking to craft the world of Germany in the year 1838. The lighting, cinematography, production design, and on-location shooting resonates so much with making it authentic and lived in. It's all perfection. Say what you will about the kinds of stories Robert Eggers makes movies out of. You cannot deny this dude understands the artistry of making films. He is just a master at his craft. In the horror genre, no one does atmosphere like he does. He's one of the best working filmmakers when it comes to how he uses imagery. I can't stress enough just how vital imagery can be to a horror film when you don't see many other films use it enough, if at all. It's a departure from a studio-like mindset of what it means to make movies in the sense that you might see a more studio-centric film cut corners and cheapen itself on what it's doing to make the film. Stuff that I mentioned already, like the usage of lazy jump scares and whatnot, is an example in the horror genre. Or if it's, say, superhero movies recently, it's all about spectacle over character, rushed CGI over more practical-based looking sets and action. I'm just listing off some stuff to clarify what I mean, but I think you get the point. While I admit the color grading in Nosferatu is far from what most people like to look at, it makes sense to be used here in the film to give you an idea of the bleakness a story like Nosferatu brings. Which is actually a good transition to talking about said story, because what I want most people to realize is that this movie is not for everyone. I'm not going to give specific spoilers to things that happen, but just know that it would not surprise me if this became Robert Eggers' most divisive film yet. As of the moment of me making this video, the cinema score for the film has come out and it is at a B-. In no way does that shock me at all. I can tell you the exact reasons as to why that is. Fans of Robert Eggers and his films will probably adore Nosferatu, but casual audiences will take more convincing, which is why that cinema score is as low as it is. I know there are people out there who don't take that metric into consideration at all, and that's totally fine. I'm just pointing it out. Nosferatu is an extremely gothic and erotic horror thriller about a vampire that means to make you uncomfortable, but also laugh at a few points unintentionally. No joke, several scenes gave my audience at the theater a chuckle. The very last scene also had a few people laughing right as the credits started rolling, and maybe that was by design, but I'm not quite sure. But with that point aside, what I'm saying is that some audience members need to expect that this is not the kind of movie that they think it is. This is not a movie about a vampire going around biting necks off. It is way different. It is very Shakespearean in its nature with the dialogue, but also the tones, of which there are many. That might turn some people off, but Robert Eggers finds a way to craft it expertly. The tones vary from horrifying, humorous, to even something that is extremely sexual, hence why so many people will call it erotic. At many points throughout, it does feel like characters will just straight up want to start having sex with each other, and at times it works, and at others it can come off as again being funny, but perhaps not intentionally. All of this, of course, is based around the character and villain of the movie, which is Count Orlok, played by the great Bill Skarsgård. At this point, what more even needs to be said about Bill as an actor? My guy can literally do anything that he sets his mind to. He is unrecognizable as the famous vampire. At no point did I ever think to myself that I would recognize the actor playing that character if I hadn't known who it was beforehand. And what's so funny about that is that actually comes from one of my only flaws with the movie, and that is that I don't think the design of Nosferatu is as menacing and terrifying as people are making it seem. When the first trailer came out, they didn't show his face, and for me, that made it to be perfect of not knowing how much more scary it would be had they seen his face. Even with my qualms about that aspect of it, the performance is what shines the most. Skarsgård is really at this point making the case for why people should consider him as one of the top 10 best working actors right now. I don't know how many more iconic horror characters there are that he could play, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I want him to keep doing it, because right now, he's just the best at it. Just as a quick point, I do hope that Robert Eggers at some point in the future brings in Stellan Skarsgård to be in one of his films, now that he has worked with Bill Skarsgård and Alexander Skarsgård as the two sons of that big family of actors. Moving off of Bill Skarsgård though, this most certainly does not take away from the fact that the rest of the cast is also just as stellar as he is. Lily Rose Depp, the daughter of Johnny Depp, is a star in the making with this performance. Without a doubt, it is the best one in the film, dramatically, but also physically. She goes to lengths of which a certain actor might not go to, but she does it all here. She throws herself at every possible acting task that she is given, and I'm thoroughly impressed by what she brought, given this is the first time I've actually ever seen her in anything. Her and Naomi Scott are two of the best horror performances of the year so far, and yet it sucks a lot that neither will be recognized at the awards shows because of the genre of film that they acted in, which is horror. Nicholas Hoult as the male lead is amazing as well. My man is having a great year so far, and this was a good way for him to end off 2024. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, and the great Willem Dafoe are fantastic as more of the side cast. Each and every character brings it, and that is something that you just love to see. Even a performance from the actor Simon McBurney might come out to be the most underrated performance for a lot of people, as he plays an insanely violent and crazy person who in a way serves as an important role that goes unnoticed at times. All in all, what is it exactly that I think you all should be taking away from this film? For me personally, it all comes down to Robert Eggers as the central component to it all. Even if this film for you personally does not fit the vibe that you were looking for, you cannot deny that it was made with the utmost care for wanting to come out as a really great film. Robert Eggers and the rest of the cast in this film do an incredible job at building the world of this premise to come off the page in a way that feels authentic and real. It's a horror movie that, while moving off of some of the more conventional studio-like horror films in how they are made, it is a shining example as to how most, if not all, should be done for the future. The style of Robert Eggers is not something that necessarily needs to be copied for each new horror film, but his movies should be shown to better understand what it's supposed to feel like. While I think that the movie is not perfect and had a few flaws, I absolutely respect it in a way that finds itself being one of 2024's best on a technical level that inspires me to want to keep following a filmmaker like Robert Eggers in whatever he does for the future. So there you have it. That's my commentary on 2024's Nosferatu. This is probably going to be the last film that I see in theaters as far as what has come out this year as we go into 2025 next week. A movie that is now at this point probably in my top 5 of 2024, sitting at the number 5 spot. Leave your comments down below and let's have a nice and respectful conversation about it. I can't stress enough that you be reasonable with me if you disagree with a point that I made. Thank you all for stopping by my channel. If you want to see more moving forward from me with regards to film and television and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new here and turn on that notification bell. I'm trying to build a community on here and your support would be appreciated. That's a wrap, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day and I will see you all soon for the next video.